It is 6:30. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you, everyone, for coming. First item on the agenda is review and approval of the minutes from the prior meeting. If anybody's got any additions or changes, if they'd be kind enough to share them. Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to approve the minutes, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? I'll make that. A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Takes care of the minutes. Public hearing this evening, preliminary plat for Osco Meadows Second.
All right, I'll just give an introduction to this proposal here. So this is the exhibit that was submitted for the second phase of Oscar Meadows. You'll recall that in 2024, the first phase was approved by the city, and now here we've got the second phase. So in the second phase, they're proposing to build 41 new lots for single-family homes up in the northwest portion of Casson. So like with the first phase of the development, it would include an extension of this 11th Avenue Northwest for access, and then this other street over here, and then ultimately it connects up to the future 16th Street Northwest, which of course goes out to 8th Avenue Northwest, and then ultimately, even beyond that, out to Highway 57. So lots of access points here for this proposed subdivision. Let's see. One thing that Commissioner Johnson did point out, which was an error in my report, has to do with the size of the lots. So the standard in our ordinance does state that the minimum lot size has to be 8,000 square feet, and so several of these lots here in this Block 5 are just a smidge too small, coming in around that 7,500 square feet range. So that is something that we'll have to fix going forward, in addition to other things that were mentioned. Let's see here. Talked about the street access. Okay. The city engineer did have a number of comments of things that were missing, and those were sent over to the developer and the developer's engineer. So those items will be worked through in advance of the final plat submittal.
We're looking at conditional approval with those as
yeah, I would say conditional approval tonight. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll just go through all of the proposed conditions we have here. So it would be the payment of the development-related fees, and then similar to the first phase of Oscar Meadows, it would be considering the proposed trail and open space corridor to be a comparable value to the parkland dedication that would normally be collected. And then city engineer specifically mentioned submitting a geotechnical report, drainage calculations, and plans for 16th Street Northwest, and then just an updated plan and plan set that we would get for the final plat submittal.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody have any questions for Ian?
Where exactly is the trail? I'm not sure I'm seeing it on the plat.
It falls under that outlot A.
the whole west end.
Yeah, the whole, yeah. However many feet it is.
So it's kind of just off the page there from what we're...
Yeah, like it would have been platted during the first phase. And so it just doesn't
That
show
kind
up.
of just connects all the way up the west side to, and then does it turn the corner and go to 16th? Because 16th is shown ending early, it looks like, right? So it'll go up, turn the corner, and then connect to the trail on the road?
Let's see.
I believe it does, yes. I didn't bring the plans with me. The full plan.
Why don't you put the plan up on the screen there, Ian, so everybody can see what Paul's talking about.
Okay. Oh, by the way,
Actually, if you bring up the, you could bring up the GIS page, that'll show that trail corridor for Paul too.
yeah.
The 16th Street does end a little early, to your point.
Yeah.
This is a discussion point that the city engineer and I have had, and we talked to Tony, I don't know, probably a year ago almost now. That section, you know, it's a road to nowhere, that last block, and there's the waterway there, so there's a very substantial amount of cost. So we felt like at this time, we would allow that to be slightly shorter than it would be, and We think that this is likely to become an MSA street in the future. And
Sure.
at that point in time, we would probably extend it, once something to the west is buildable. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to build it, have it sit there for, a long period of time and decay and utilities and things like that. So that's something that I know the city engineer and I have discussed with Mr. Bigelow, so. And if you look at the trail corridor, is kind of, can you highlight that for us?
Yeah.
Yeah, so to
This box
the
right
city
here.
GIS, so it just is basically west of that, of where he's got that black line. So
Okay.
that's that corridor, and that would hook up to the top. The idea is that the trails will connect through that trail section that we're building, the city council's building this year, up through Northwest Park, kind of along that creekway there.
Yep.
And then it'll actually connect into the trail that's running on the north side of 16th Street. So it'll create a whole corridor where people can go all the way from north, far northwest, all the way up to like Quick Trip and school. So I think it's gonna be a really nice amenity, because that does hook into the Sunset Trail on that side of town also, so.
Yeah.
I assume, the engineer didn't have anything that's gonna like materially change what we see here in this plat?
Let's see.
I don't think there's any material changes. That lot measurement's something we'll have to take a look at. I hadn't noticed that myself, so that's a good
Yeah.
catch on that.
Good
I
catch.
think that there were a number of items, drainage plan, things that,
Just documentation
the
kind of thing?
engineer,
or-
that WSC will have to provide, that I know Brandon's a stickler, and that's good. It's good that he has his things, he makes sure that we cover all of our bases, so. But I don't think that it'll materially change the design of the plant. It may just mean the lots are slightly different, or the road configuration may be slightly different, but it's not a material change.
Okay.
Do you wanna talk to it at all, Tony? Or do you want, wait, we can hear the
Well,
public?
just make sure, yeah, I mean, you are the public, sir, so unless there's any other questions for Ian? No? We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, take it away.
Thanks for having me, Planning Commission. Tony Bigelow, Bigelow Homes. Yeah, I didn't do the math on all these lots, so for like 7,500 square feet, we're gonna have to make some changes. I know in Block 5, the eastern two lots are like 90-foot frontage. I may be able to shrink those down to around 80. So I think we can make it work
Yeah.
without losing lots and changing, we're not gonna change the streets, it's just, because we're bound by, a giant gas easement on the south side, and then sewer easement on the north and, well, north, east, and west side, really, but east and west mainly. So, yeah, we're a little bit early. Usually I like my full plans kind of approved by Brandon, but I'm trying to make sure when this next phase comes in, gauge how many lots I have so I can go if I need to go. So I'm trying to get my plans done early. Obviously, the final plans will have to be approved, and then just see if I'm selling lots or not. I mean, if one lot sells in this summer, then we're in trouble, but I think it'll be like 10. And then, I think 16th Street's so important to this side of town. Just the neighborhood we just put in a few years ago, Bigelow Void 8, for them to go north, go east on 16th Street, get to the dump road, 8th Avenue, get to 57, get to the school, I think that's huge. So, I just wanna have this ready, and Les just submitted everything, and that's my engineer, and here we are, so. Other than that, I don't think there's any changes, just gotta make sure the pond and everything works according to Les's plan, so. That's my 2 cents. If there's any questions, I'll take them.
I was just kind of questioning, what's your time frame? So, construction, I know it's already started up on the northwest. When are you thinking that part's gonna be done?
I'm hoping mid-June, so if we have a
Because
decent,
it should be a pretty good spring.
yeah, I'm hoping by July 1st, we're digging basements. I have a couple builders that wanna come in there and buy a couple lots each, which is great. We
Sure.
love to do that. And then, we'll build 2 or 3 and get
I
going.
mean, you're pretty much out of lots, because now that, up in the northeast, it's pretty much full.
I'm out of-
There's one lot off of the road, and that's
Yeah,
about it.
we're pretty much out of single-family lots. I mean, Comet Acres, their 1-acre lots are
They're starting to
120,000.
pick up, though. I've seen more
Yeah.
houses built up there, too.
No, I've sold 3 in the past 2 weeks.
Right.
So they haven't started building those, through other builders, by the way, so that's great. So that's a success, but, $120,000 lots are gonna be 40, 50 more
I
than.
mean, what are you thinking for these? What are you,
Mid-70s, I hope, I wish it was 50 grand, I mean, we'd sell.
was 55 years ago, but not anymore.
I know, so, that's where we're at, so.
I'm curious about Outlaw G, is that just gonna be green space, or? Seems
I'm
like a
curious
corner.
about that. It's actually, it's a big wetland right there.
It's low, okay.
Yeah, it's a
'Cause
wetland.
I
It's
think
a-
that big corner lot would've been desirable, but,
I know, but it is all wetland,
okay.
like
All right.
designated wetland, so you can't.
And that corner is reserved because I think the county is anticipating a roundabout in the future on this intersection.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
That's
I see
why you
that's
can kinda see that
cut
corner
off
cut
there.
off there for that reasoning, because I know Guy Kohlenhofer said, better to just plan now, because they expect that that'll probably come, it may be 20 years, but eventually.
So what happens to Outlot G in the future, right? This is all developed, who maintains that chunk of property? That's,
I'm gonna deed that to the city as well as the pond.
it'll be ours?
Yeah.
Paul Johnson Park, I like it.
that's typically how it works, yeah.
So the storm ponds will be property of the city and as well as that wetland area, Lot G.
That's where they'll put my statue, actually, it'll be
Yeah.
Glad you're not.
No, it's a good question, though. I mean, because we do end up adding a lot of
Great
outlots.
question.
I mean, and, I know, like, the nice thing about this is it's a corridor, so we'll be able to maintain on the west side, but that Lot G will be another one we'll have to be, planning on with the stormwater mitigation and everything, too, so. Did you find a lot of issues when you were digging on the south half? I mean, because this is the north half. This is where historically there were some questions about that northwest kind of, and you're leaving some of it undisturbed for the most part, which is probably good.
Well, we always heard it was the south half.
Okay.
The south and west, kind of where the tree farm was and
Mhm.
south of that. All of our borings, we found great sand,
Okay.
so, didn't find anything yet. I don't want to find anything, but we'll see.
Anything else? No? Good.
Sounds good, Tony.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Close the public hearing. Few adjustments, gentlemen, but I guess I don't see any major challenges ahead of us. Thoughts, concerns? If not, I would look for a motion, please.
we'll make,
Motion to approve with, we'll call them conditions. Do we have a second?
yeah, and I just wanna clarify that one of the conditions was fixing the square footage of the
Yeah,
handful of lots, so, with that said, yeah, I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Would be our recommendation to the city council.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tony.
Yep, you too. Next up, minor subdivision, Creekside Grove Outlet B, and forgive me, is this a public hearing, or is this just a conversation?
this is not a public hearing,
Not a
so
public hearing,
we're
okay.
just asking for, your comment and recommendation tonight. So this one, it is for Outlot B of Creekside Grove. You'll recall not too long ago, you heard the, Creekside Grove subdivision, which originally just subdivided one very large lot into two small outlots, for future development, and now we're subdividing one of the halves into another, split for future development. So I'll scroll down here to the actual exhibits. This one here, the certificate of survey, shows the entire Outlot B, and then basically it would be split, kind of following this marked wetland, down here. So this is the split here, showing the south portion. Let's see, and so similar to the Creekside Grove subdivision, this basically just allows, the owner, Dean Schutte Enterprises, to sell off portions of the lot instead of having to sell off the entire piece, which may be less desirable to some. Let's see. Anything else?
Has Mr. Schramm come forward with any indications as to what his plans are with this chunk of real estate?
So, you'll remember the Reagan addition on the west side. So the final plat and final PUD for those will be on the agenda for, council consideration this Wednesday. But as part of the approval of the preliminary versions, Mr. Schramm was required by the council to, reduce the size of the number of units and also provide an access point on the proposed 13th Street Northwest going out to, the Highway 57, which that connection point wasn't originally a part of that plan, but since the council made that a requirement in order to do the Reagan addition on the west side, this is what was needed to happen in order to make that happen. So, if all of that should go forward as what we understand it to be at this point, we would see a 13th Street going across this portion here once it plats in the future.
Yeah, I mean, and just in reference, so basically, in essence, Mr. Schutte wasn't interested in developing that. And in order to get, Mr. Schramm knew if he needed to, I mean, he wanted to do a subdivision. The council said, hey, you gotta have that east-west connection. So he's going out of his way, he's gonna buy this parcel off too, so he can put the road through, basically, so that folks can exit right onto 57 instead of having to go through the residential neighborhoods to the south. So,
Well, let me rephrase my question then. How is it zoned?
Oh, sure.
high density, I think, isn't it?
Well, it's like development holding, most of it is. A small portion of it was rezoned to commercial, that's kind of down in the south.
Comprehensive plan say, though, I think, because everything comes in as development holding. So, I mean, maybe that's to your question?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it was gonna be my next question anyway, so.
Sure.
But yeah, most of it is high density, that's correct.
Yeah, it's in the staff report. Comp plan guides both halves towards mix of high density and retail service commercial.
Right, yeah, so, I can't remember which year it was, but, a portion of it was, re-guided to more of commercial, just to push that development along the Highway 57
Some
corridor.
discussion of that Dollar Tree at one time.
Yeah, yep. Yep,
Well, when Mr. Schramm was at the city council meeting a while back, discussing this, I believe, he was held to the comprehensive plan on the
Yep.
current development over on Dump Road, and I guess,
that's right.
out of the sake of consistency, continuing to hold him to the comprehensive plan made a certain level of sense.
Sure.
So Ian, on these two surveyed images you're showing here, they're both labeled Outlot B, so I guess I'm confused, is the one on the bottom, the second page, or you got more pages than I do? The very last one,
This one here? yeah.
Outlot B 32, is that what it currently is?
Yeah, so this one here is the current, and then this one is the proposed split.
And so, because then if you look up to the top right of that, it says Outlot B again, so the area above this, what's labeled Outlot B, is gonna, the north of this, is that gonna be Outlot A, or what is that?
Let's see, I believe
Or are we just gonna have two Outlot Bs, because, I don't know, it's just confusing.
it'll be a bit
Everything's labeled
confusing.
B.
And this is something I should probably check with the county going forward, since they ultimately do the recording and, you know, creating of the tax parcels and all of that. But my understanding is that they will have separate legal descriptions going forward. So you'll see this prepared legal description covers this south portion of Outlot B, and then for the north portion of Outlot B, the legal description would be something like Outlot B accepting a portion, which is then described as this bit here. So I believe it should work this way, but I can confirm with the county to make sure that this is acceptable, and if they need to change anything.
Okay, well, hopefully this lower
Yeah.
section gets developed soon anyway, so it won't matter, but...
Yeah,
if and when the road gets put in, I assume we'll see a plat for that road going through too, and that'll change everything again, right?
That's right.
So-
yeah, it would have to,
Probably
yeah,
probably within 2 or 3 years, I would think you.
yeah. So really the whole point of this one is just to allow the property owner to sell off the halves instead of the entire Outlot B.
Has, from a future development, has Brandon looked at this at all from, just the amount of water that flows through, how wet these
Well, I mean,
parcels
so
are?
if you go back, can you go to, maybe bring up Troy's subdivision? he's got a huge pond on that, bring up that report.
Oh, okay.
Bring up the Schramm one to the west, so they've got a huge pond on the north side of that. So, yeah, I mean, they have, so there's,
It's not
as you know, Joe, there's already a pond on the north side of the Crickway on the county property.
Yep.
That the county and the city built, 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
On the south side of that, there's another real big pond being built. So they have looked at the water numbers. I mean, I guess that's part of the engineer's job is the calcs they have to do to make sure that it all moves in the proper way, so. The last 2 years probably haven't been the best, guidance on water because it's been so dry, but I know in the past, that pond on the north side still gets a good amount of water, even when it's a dry year, so.
Yep. And there isn't gonna be, it's not bad enough to the point where, it's still developable.
Yeah, I mean, that corridor.
To a point.
Yeah, that corridor he's got there is the area that's been delineated, the wetland corridor, you can kind of see it in the faint gray that's been delineated, they won't be building on that unless they buy wetland credits or something like that. And we work with the county to do a study on the water flow for that. But yeah, so that won't be built. And at this point in time, Mr. Schramm isn't entirely sure what he's gonna do with this. He just knew that he had to get the property rights to it, otherwise he couldn't build the road to be actually able to do the subdivision that he wants to do, so. I would imagine that he would try and put some kind of commercial along 57. That would seem to make the most financial sense, because it's, highly exposed to the, for business, but, at this point in time, he has not indicated that he has plans for it. He just knows that in order to do phase 2, he has to have a road that connects in, because otherwise he can't do it, so. Well, I should have asked him to look at it. Oh, there you go. He finally brought it. There you go. Just to show you kind of, so that, yeah, you can just see on the north side, there's their pond. So, that's gonna take all the water from there. It's likely gonna have to do some ponding on this east side too, but, they have to meet those stormwater calculations for each section of land that they develop. Same thing as
Yeah.
Tony does with his. That's why
Yep.
he's got that pine in the northwest on his property, so. Thanks, Ian.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Is there anything else you want us to discuss, sir?
I'm good.
No?
And then I would just ask for a motion and a second recommending approval.
Okay, so, gotcha. With that said, look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That would be our recommendation as well.
Thank you.
Just 'cause I happen to do it every year, and it's that time of year,
Yep.
to, making sure that we're checking on Wilker's property.
Right, Ian?
Okay.
He's trying to look away from us there.
I kinda saw the hot potato go from you very elegantly.
It's gonna be 70 on Friday, Ian. Take the time and get out of the office.
Uh-huh.
Go take some pictures of trees.
Maybe give Ron Unger a call, make sure that
Yeah.
it's okay to come up.
No,
Well-
send Ron out there. You could send Ben out to talk to Ron.
Yep.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's-
probably the best way to go, yeah.
Not anywhere near as entertaining as you going out.
I think that's what we got for tonight, right, Ian?
Yeah, that's everything.
Okay.
Short and sweet.
Nothing else? Go ahead and adjourn. Thank you all.
Jason was pretty hot under the collar last year and last fall.